often the case that when we think about personal finance, the focus tends to be on striking the right balance between saving and spending to be able to facilitate the lifestyle that we want. And there's a default assumption there that we actually have income to be able to figure out how much to save and spend. But if you're a student or a young person just starting off, your sources of income is more important than figuring out how much you're going to save and spend. You first have to be able to earn money before you can manage money. And in this segment of the Elly interview, I speak with Monica Scott from the UTM Career Center, and she tells us about all the resources that are available to students to help make them more marketable as they enter into the workforce. I think it's imperative for all students here on campus to at least touch base with the Career Center at least once and see what resources are there and what you can take advantage of to help make yourself more marketable as you progress with your academic career. Please enjoy this segment with Monica from the UTM Career Center. So I'm here with Monica from the Career Center, and she's going to give us some information that will be useful for students in making themselves marketable for the future. So welcome to the Elly interview, Monica.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure students are eager to hear what the Career Center has to offer.
So one thing I think I'd like to start with is when people think about marketing themselves, the first thing they think about is putting a resume together. And while a resume is one of the most important marketing tools that a person has, it's what goes into the resume that actually makes it either a very strong marketing tool or not, which may seem like a very obvious statement, but sometimes if you haven't built some of the skills and experiences to put in your resume, it makes it very challenging to make a good marketing document. So one of the first things that people might think about in order to, and this may seem like it's a step backward in this thinking in terms of preparing yourself to market yourself, but really to have a sense of what is it that their students are at the university for in the first place. What are they studying and why are they studying it? And that might help inform career directions.
Right.
So what are the kinds of careers? Do some exploration about what kinds of careers a person might see themselves moving forward to. What are they really interested in? What courses are they really enjoying taking? And once they determine that, it opens up a field or an area and job possibilities that then help them determine what types of things might they put in their resume.
So they really have to understand their own strengths,
right?
And what field that they would like to go into. At least explore that option.
Okay. So I'll bring this up now. This is our career planning model. It's very hard to see, but we'll put a link to it. And in the center of the model is you. And that part, and in the beginning of the whole career exploration, it's really understanding who you are, what your strengths are, what your interests are, what your values are, to help determine what direction you might want to go in. You don't have to be definitive in terms of I'm going to study this and I'm going to go do that, because hopefully people will learn all kinds of things at university and that might change over time. But to really have a bit of an idea of the direction, and then they can start to explore careers that might be associated with that.
Right.
And so in that exploration, we have career counseling appointments that will help students start to ask some of those questions and determine some of those ideas. We also have a number of different services like our extern job shadowing program. We have opportunities to interact with professionals and employers in various different fields and types of jobs that we offer regularly through the academic year for students to come and interact with those people and talk to those people. So
can you give us an example?
Sure. Actually, we just had one event for the social sciences and humanities. So we had a number of different people from various different backgrounds coming to talk to students about, and it was a networking thing, so it was a speed networking, where students could ask them questions. What is it that you like about your work? What don't you like about your work? How would I begin to prepare myself for a job like this if I wanted to do that when I graduate? So
if a student has an interest in a certain field or a certain career path, they can touch base with you, and you can, they will be able to find out if and when you have such types of events where they can network or meet. Do you have any mentoring services available for students?
Well, on the Career Learning Network, that would be where all of the information is. It's our website that all students have access to. In terms of mentoring, oftentimes it's at these events, so it's not a formal mentorship program by any means, But you often find that people will make connections, and so we
Yes.
really encourage students, if they're coming to one of our events, to attend the Learn to Network workshop first. And that gives them some ways of interacting with people, questions that they might think, and just professional behaviors that will increase the chances of them connecting with someone.
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes those mentoring relationships form organically, and sometimes those are the best kind
Yes, yes.
to have. And so when we are preparing students and helping students prepare, it's not a mandatory workshop, but very strongly recommended so that students will be successful in those events.
Okay. And this service is available from first year to fourth year, fifth year students even. Once
Actually,
you're enrolled, or is it?
Incoming students would be able to use our services from first year on, and services extend to students 2 years after they graduate as well. And we really
That's
encourage
useful.
students to do it from first year, because if they begin to do this process from first year on, they'll also learn different things, make different connections that will help determine types of part-time jobs or summer jobs or volunteer opportunities that they might think would help them move a little bit further down the road to that career. So by the time it comes to graduation and they're putting that final resume together, they'll have a lot of different skills and experiences that they can then start to describe in their resume, which will then make them marketable. It also helps to have that experience, not just for the resume and the cover letter, but if those things work well, then you're also going to be interviewed. And so to be able to speak very knowledgeably about your experiences and give really specific examples and stories about times when you overcame obstacles, worked collaboratively with other people, either in coursework or in a part-time job or a volunteer opportunity, that will really help bring those skills to light to an employer and make a student very much more marketable.
So you do mock interviews with students as well?
We do. So we have a number of different workshops that help students build all of those skills. So we do a resume and cover letter workshop, we do effective interview workshops. Students can make appointments both with career counselors to talk about those things, and we also have employment strategists on staff who will do one-on-one practice interviews with students. We also critique resumes, and so students can make a same-day appointment pretty much any day of the week and come in and have a critique of one of their documents. And sometimes it takes a while, a couple of critiques to really get that document settled, but once they have a really good understanding of what to do with that, then they're pretty much on their way to doing it, and they don't necessarily need to have us check them over all the time. But sometimes it helps to have a little bit of a pat on the back and tell them that they're going in the right direction.
But this is an amazing resource for students. I mean, it's a one-stop shop for, you know, getting all the skill sets that they need to go out there and find employment and to be successful, you know, in making money. Because, you know, Elly is all about personal financial management, but you can't manage what you don't have. And so the Career Center, I think, is well positioned to help students, you know, guide them on their path towards employment.
And the other thing I should mention is on the Career Learning Network, there are many jobs that are posted up there as well. So there are volunteer jobs, there are part-time jobs, there are summer jobs. At this time of year, there's many summer jobs. And when students graduate, there's also full-time positions as well. So it's a resource that students, again, can use not only to find out what workshops and events we're offering through the Career Center, but also what are the employment opportunities that employers both on campus and off campus are offering students. And so first year right on through to past graduation.
So 2 years after graduation, let's say they're still looking for jobs and they need help with their CV, or they want to practice for the interview, they can connect with you still.
Yes, and so once students graduate, so a June grad would have services for 2 years after their June graduation. Also November grads would be the same, 2 years from that point of graduation. So they're eligible to come in and use all of our services to attend any of the events that we have. Oftentimes we have recent alumni coming back that are still doing some more of that career exploration, that are wanting to network and talk with people in their field or in a potential field that they're interested in getting into. And then also looking at those job opportunities that employers are listing on our site. And that's across all 3 campuses as well. So it's opportunities both locally in the Mississauga area, but also downtown and in the Greater Toronto area.
That's very important to know. You have a little bit of excitement outside. So you know, Monica, the job market is changing so fast, and everybody's so worried about AI. There are a lot of jobs being disrupted and being eradicated completely. And I think it's important for students, regardless of which year they're in, year 1 to 5 or year 4, before or after graduation to do things that will make them marketable. So I was wondering if you can share with students maybe a couple of tips that they should be doing right now, regardless of where they are, to start preparing themselves to a job market, really, that we don't know what's going to be required of us, but we have to still be prepared. So you're in this field a lot, so you would know what are the most marketable skills. And so if you can give our students some tips, that would be pretty helpful, I think.
So this may sound a little old school, but I think it's still very relevant. In addition to the computer skills or computer literacy, the Adobe suite for students that are in a more artistic area, or just some of the basic Microsoft packages, Excel and Access and Word and whatnot. So those are things that are pretty much common for most positions. But many employers will say that they are able to teach some of the very technical things, and what they can't teach is attitude and work ethic. So this is the old-fashioned part.
The soft skills.
The soft skills, and they're really, really important. I can think of many times when an employer has said that to us, that, so the key employability skills are time management, organizational skills, communication, interpersonal skills are really very strong. And for students to have experiences where they can speak directly to those skills, and they don't have to be a really big important job that they can say, I've done this and I've been in charge of this, but more very concrete examples of when they use their interpersonal communication skills to interact with in a difficult situation, or where they've used their organizational skills and their computer literacy to create something that might have been an obstacle in a workplace, and identified a problem and actively sought out to overcome it with the guidance of their and the permission of their supervisors. You don't want to just tool off. So
they're encouraged to take initiative within certain parameters.
Right. But taking initiative and demonstrating a commitment, demonstrating those professional behaviors are really, really important. And then practicing them, because the more they practice them, the stronger those skills are going to be. And that may seem very vague, but most employers, any job posting that you look at, are going to look at the very bare minimum. They're going to be looking at those types of things. And then sometimes students will also say, I haven't done this job or haven't taken this particular course to learn this thing. And you don't necessarily have to have the absolute credential to be able to claim a skill. And so taking that initiative again to teach yourself, if there's Excel is a really good example. Be proactive. There's so many opportunities to learn in so many different ways online now, that just having an understanding of what that means and pushing yourself a little bit beyond to show that, although I haven't actually had to take the course, I really have taken the opportunity to use the facilities that are available to me, and then how do they implement that?
Right.
So if they had to create something, if they were the treasurer for their club, that they use their Excel skills to create a spreadsheet, to use the skills that they're beginning to develop and how they incorporate them into their various different ways. And many times I talk to computer science students, and they've always got a few things going on the side. They're creating an app, or they're going to a hack event. And students that have really strong writing skills, and they don't have to wait to be paid to do something. We have lots of opportunities to write for the school newspaper. The Medium is always looking for people to contribute, or just writing things and having a portfolio of opportunities. Having a blog. Many employers will talk about how they use a person's blog, or they use the information that they were able to find about them online, again, to see those skills. So whatever skill they're really trying to enhance, they can enhance it in a variety of different ways. And then those things, again, funnel back into how they represent themselves in their resume, their cover letter, in an interview, how they articulate that when they're speaking to an employer at one of the networking events. That becomes the value proposition that they're able then to say to a person. So instead of saying, I'm a student and I go to this university and I'm studying this, they can now start to talk about that they are a student, they're studying this, they're going to the University of Toronto, Mississauga, but they're also developing, they're working on this project, and this is a really cool thing that I'm doing. And employers love to see that enthusiasm that students are and generating that kind of interest in that initiative. So those are the things that a student can do right now, and really just go with what they're most interested in, what really gets them excited, and find other students that want to do that with them or do something on their own. But the point is to begin that process. And I believe the earlier they start, if they're doing a little bit in first year, they do a little bit in first year, they do a little bit in second year, all of a sudden, by the time they get to third and fourth year, they've really built a capacity and a portfolio of various different skills that they have just slowly built up over time, as opposed to feeling the crunch right at the end, thinking, oh my goodness, I have so much work to do now and I haven't really started. So it's never too early to start, and it's never too late to start.
So the takeaway is start early, find something that you're interested in, and work on those soft skills, being able to work. We do a lot of group work in classes here at UTM, and so usually students fuss about being in groups, and it's always a problem. And I always say that's a great opportunity to develop that interpersonal skills and learning how to work with people, and being able to delegate and get people to work and still be friends.
That's right.
Which is a challenge. And so I think students don't take the real opportunity of when they have these group assignments, because I get a lot of complaints like this one is not contributing, and then they do all the work themselves. But it's more than just getting the grade, it's getting that experience, and we have to kind of encourage them to do that.
And that's the reality. Teamwork is out there, it's in the world, it's in the workplace, and to show how you problem solved your way through some of those very tricky issues is a good way of demonstrating how you're going to behave in a team environment in the workplace.
This is something like, they come and they get a lot of technical skills from their courses that they take. But the soft skills, like being able to work with people, being able to think outside the box, and being creative, taking the initiative, I think students need to be reminded that it's okay to do that.
It is, and it's a very important aspect. We have a workshop called Stand Out and Succeed, and it really kind of talks about what is the workplace like, and how are you successful in the workplace. So how do you spot some of those hurdles that you might have to overcome? So if you've had some experiences already, whether it's a group work in a class or a part-time job or a volunteer job, all of those experiences are going to help them identify what issues they might encounter in the workplace and overcome them, probably with a little bit more ease than they would have had they not had any of those experiences to draw from. So the technical skills are obviously very important and will make them also marketable for those positions, especially
it opens the door, but doesn't necessarily lands them the job.
Because everybody has to recognize there's competition out there. So there are many people that are graduating with that background. So what will set them apart from the rest of the competition are the other things that they bring. And some of those key employability skills that everyone talks about are the things that will make a difference and make a person successful in their future careers, and how they navigate, because it's not just a career is not just one job. A career is a series of different experiences and jobs and directions that a person will go in. And so it's how do you start to navigate that, and where you begin isn't necessarily where you're going to end. People will say that all the time.
Right. That's true.
Change directions and change careers many times in their lives. So
you don't know what you don't know.
No, and I think the other thing is with you mentioned AI and a lot of technology, there are many types of career areas that don't exist yet, that students that are graduating this year or next year are going to be able to take advantage of. And one of the ways of doing that is to continuously learn and to continuously be curious about what's going on out there in the world. So when we talk about resilience, we also need to think about how do we respond to situations where there is uncertainty. And a lot of that is by having a healthy curiosity and to not be afraid to not know something, and then also do a little bit of investigation and stick your big toe in there and see what that's like, and
be bold and brave.
Be bold and brave, a little bit cautious, ask a lot of questions, and find people that know something. I think one of the opportunities at the university is there's so many times that people can sit in on. We have speakers that come on campus all the time, and just to explore all of those things and see where did those people begin, where are they now, using conversation afterward or reaching out on LinkedIn after an event or anything like that. So a very curious mind is somebody that's going to continue to keep themselves informed and find ways of navigating their way into those opportunities. But you really do kind of have to step out to do that. And that's a little bit intimidating, but I think part of one of the benefits of being a student at university is there's so many opportunities for people to just try things out and ask a lot of questions. And the one thing that I'm always really thrilled about is when I speak to a student who has discovered something that brand new that they had never experienced before, and are just so impassioned by the whole idea of this subject area or this piece of knowledge that they've just encountered, and what does that mean for them? And so that continuous questioning yourself, well, this is really interesting, what does that mean for me? And doing a bit of an environmental scan to see what's going on out there in the world, reading the newspaper, even if it gets your fingers dirty, that hard copy newspaper is actually still an important thing, or reading it online.
You sure they know what that is?
That's right, that's right. Okay, maybe I'm dating myself. But reading any kind of news feed and various different types of news to see what's going on out there, and how does my...
Staying informed.
Yeah, how does my aptitude for this type of area, and that gets back to the whole understanding yourself as a person, understanding where your strengths and your weaknesses are, your interests are, and what does that mean for you moving forward into this new area that has yet to be developed. And that's where opportunities come. And at the Career Center, we call it having an opportunities mindset. So that an opportunity is only as good as your ability to recognize it and to act on it. But if you are doing some of these practices that we're talking about, you'll see the opportunity.
It becomes easier to recognize.
Yeah, it does. And sometimes it might not necessarily seem like the greatest thing, but if you take that one, say yes to that first opportunity, a whole world of opportunities might open up. There's a career development theory called planned happenstance, that if you take that one, say yes to that first opportunity, before you know it, there's other things that will follow from that.
That's an planned happenstance.
Planned happenstance.
I call it follow the breadcrumbs, but okay, that's
it's basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing.
I didn't know there was a term for it.
There actually is. And so when you do say yes to that opportunity, and you fully engage in it, and you learn something from it, before you know it, you are recognizing other opportunities and saying yes to those opportunities, taking you in a direction that you might not necessarily have predetermined, but it might be the right direction for you. Which is why when we think about career, we think about having clarity about a person's career. So that is, again, knowing yourself really well. So you're not necessarily decided on one particular career direction, but you have a clarity about the direction, or the kind of place, the movement, the flow towards
where
something,
you want to go.
Where you want to go, but it isn't necessarily just one particular thing, because things, as we know, change quite rapidly.
I think that's an important point, not to be too rigid. You know, acquire the skills that you need, like you said, plan happenstance, follow the breadcrumbs, and let the opportunity provide itself, and you take advantage of it. And a lot of times in the industries, you find that a lot of people are in top positions, but they didn't start it out like that. They didn't intend to become the CEO of something, or they didn't intend to invent this thing, or they didn't intend to do something. But like you said, they kept following the opportunities, and it evolved in such a way.
Yeah, oftentimes it's more that they have leveraged their abilities, their skills, their interests. They've learned something new that's helped them along the way, and found themselves in places. So opportunity kind of sometimes jumps up in front of us, but sometimes we also have to seek it by asking questions, by positioning ourselves somewhere where we're going to meet different types of people. So you can't know that in moving forward, but you can, if you follow your curiosity, that usually is determined by some of your strengths, some of your abilities before you may even be able to articulate them, but knowing where you are going to be your strongest self, and then acting out that in that, whatever it is. So if it's a science student, volunteering in someone's lab. There's a lot of grad students and a lot of faculty sometimes that are looking for somebody just to do one small thing, not a full time thing, or taking advantage of their research opportunities program. And so beginning to develop those skills that then they can build on later, or that they see that there's this particular part of this research that is just completely fascinating and exciting, so that they wouldn't know had they not done that first step. And so that's the first breadcrumb that they pick up, and then, okay, I'm going to try this. And then they move forward with each one of those things, and continuously, as I said before, just ask yourself, is this something that I really like to do? And be useful, and not Some students have told me that they've just made themselves very useful in a lab, so they'll be willing to do anything, and that willingness to, you know, clean the glassware or whatever it is. I haven't been in a lab in many years, but to make themselves useful without assuming that there's going to be an immediate payoff. Will show a person that they really are willing to make a commitment, and that commitment will then open up opportunities for them to have something a little more exciting to do down the line when they have the skills that are going to be able to allow them to.
Well, when they're easy to work with, and they're just you know, readily available, congenial, you know, and like you said, doing things that who wants to do the washing up? But if it's you're in the lab and it's what's necessary, you do that. It actually shows us a particular part of your personality. That shows that you're willing to do, or you're willing to take the steps that are necessary to get the job done, regardless of how big or small it is. So
that's right, because everybody has to do their part. So if you're willing to show that right early on, and that can be in any type of work. And so many times, if it doesn't look like it's going to be really exciting, people may not want to do it, but that's how you also, for lack of a better word, pay your dues and show people that you have a commitment to a project or whatnot. And usually there's a payoff at some point, but it may not be quite as immediate as you might like to see that. But that's part of the breadcrumb trail.
So is there any final lesson or tip you want to leave with the students with there before?
I think it's just explore yourself, explore the opportunities that you find interesting, ask a lot of questions, and make use of the resources that the university has to offer, because we're really rich in the resources. There are many services that are available to students to help support them in variety, in any way that they are looking to explore their own experiences. The Career Center has many, and all of our information is on our website. I really encourage students to take advantage of the expertise in our staff and the events that we offer. And then beyond that, explore other things that the university has to offer as well, because that all builds your own knowledge about yourself and your skills.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Monica, for coming and sharing with us all the information about the Career Center. The link will be posted below the video. So thank you.